A good Saturday morning, everybody. This is the Denko Gridiron Show. I am Stephen Peters, the managing editor, joined by my co-host and compadre, Lee Livingston. What is up, Lee?
I think it's just kind of like I said, right, before the show, recouping from last night, keeping up with all the ridiculousness of
Yeah.
Texas high school football because everything was kind of insane. Just
Oh,
between
yeah.
just in not just in our area. I mean, it was like I checked the scores from
Across
other
the
schools,
state.
and it's like, good lord, it was
Yeah,
insane.
absolutely. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Denko Gridiron Show. We are talking regional semifinals for UIL, state semifinals for TAPS. It's a recap slash preview. We still got two games on tap today, which we'll be going to one together, and then I'll be hightailing it to the later one tonight. So yeah, it's a mixed game. It's one of our first time. I think our first time ever having a Saturday game to really talk about that. We
Mhm.
hasn't happened yet. So a little bit of a blended show. But man, it was a rough night for our Denko boys across the area. 0-5, and it was also madness trying to watch all the streams at once and follow along with the game we were at last night, which was at Collins. Um, yeah, it was insane bananas. Unfortunate way for some teams to lose, such as Argyle and Panther Creek. And then the other games were a little bit more decided in their outcomes, but still there were chances abound for each of them.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was just rough. But yeah, welcome to the show. Again, it's our recap slash preview of this weekend's game. So hopefully we have at least one team to talk about next week. Otherwise, we could be looking at a season recap show or something next Wednesday. Who knows, man?
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to be getting into season recap. Before we even have a state game, or before we even have a state semifinal. Let's
Yeah,
just get
yeah,
one of
it's
them there.
yeah. I know you were Mr. Optimist and thinking that everybody would
I
go
thought,
would win this week, and
yeah,
we'd
I
have
thought. I
yeah.
felt like I thought this week we had a lot of really good chances to get some games done, and uh, I think we had some surprises in term. I mean, genuinely shocked that 0-5, just not in the deck of cards for me. I was like,
Yeah.
worst case, two teams win on Friday night. Like I felt
Yeah,
like
that's
Argyle,
I
and
thought at least 2
then
would win.
I felt like, okay, Argyle felt. I don't want to say it was a lock because obviously they're playing a good team, but it's like even if they lost, it's like there's no way all of the teams between because all those games were pretty solid games.
Yeah.
Good matchups, but it's like Argyle, Panther Creek, Aubrey, Northwest, like for all like there's no way all of those teams and Prestonwood had a very tough game going
Yeah.
into it. And it's like, all right, but even like because they're such a good program, and you see it in the final score, it's like they did try to come back and they were able to battle back into that game. It's like for all five of them to go down,
Yeah.
like it
It
just
was
blows my mind.
disheartening.
It's like what like I
Yeah.
thought two of them at the very least were gonna make it out of that Friday night.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, before we get into the recap of the games last night, real quick, as you can see below, you can always hit us up at Denko Gridiron. That's at Denko Gridiron on our socials, X, Instagram, Twitter, or I already said X, Facebook, Threads, all that good stuff. We're there. We always have content on denkogridiron.com. And if you need to hit us up about any kind of partnership or you want to contribute to the show or to the platform, info at denkogridiron.com. Again, he's Lee Livingston at Lee Livingston 13, and I am Stephen Peters at I am Speeders. You can always add us at our appropriate social channels. All right, man. So let's get into some of the recap. It's going to be quasi short show. We got 5 games to talk about. The 4 that we weren't at, but we were watching
mhm.
from afar, and the one we did attend. Some big surprises, and then let's kind of talk again about today's games that we have on tap. So first one, Gilbert 34, Aubrey 21. This was there for the taking for Aubrey.
Yeah.
They led 21-17 at the half, all 21 points coming in the second quarter. Jaden Bogar was leading that offense. Another different quarterback for Aubrey as they try to find some simulation of a passing game. And he hit Tyler Brown for a couple of insane grabs in that quarter, and then it just stagnated. The pick six in the fourth quarter definitely sealed that game for Gilmer as Aubrey was driving, and that was all she wrote. And it was there. I mean, Aubrey had a chance.
Yeah, I mean, so to me, this game kind of, I mean, you kind of hit on it. Those turnovers were huge. I was kind of surprised. Aubrey had the lead for just it was a short time. They did have the lead though, and it's
Yep.
like I thought they were going to be able to milk it. Hold on, like it's like, oh, this is perfect. This is what they want. But we talked about it on the show. Gilmer did have that kind of explosive playability to go out and get past that Aubrey defense if they needed to. A little bit surprised that they made the quarterback switch. I don't know if there was an injury or something. You had the game on between Temple and you said, or who it was
Yeah,
Bogar. That was that quarterback.
Temple, Bogar,
So I
and
don't know. I don't
Rumley.
know. I was kind of surprised that Temple. I don't know if he got pulled or what because he just has the one intercept. He just had the one interception in the box score, and so I don't know what the situation was. If he just went out through an interception early in the game, uh, like
Yeah,
do
so
you know what if it
I
was an
think I
injury
think
or
Temple
what?
was the one who threw the interception, actually, that was the pick six.
That was the pick six.
All I got from the Gilmer broadcast, because that's who was broadcasting it
Okay,
live, was that they think Bogar was in to spell Temple because, he plays on both sides of the ball, and I'm like, "Okay,"
okay,
but he's been doing that pretty much, I don't know, the last 6, 7 weeks, whatever. What's different now? Um, so maybe he was hurt. Maybe they just wanted him to focus on defense. I don't know what the
to
case
me,
was,
that's
but
really yeah. So like, and it worked to some degree for Aubrey. Like they were able to get some juice going, and maybe Bogar. Uh, I don't know if I don't know what. I'd have to check his classification. If he's a junior or something? So he may be a quarterback going down the line. As you check on that.
yep,
Uh,
I'm pretty sure he's a
is
junior.
a junior. If he's a junior, because I thought you may have mentioned it last night. You and we were talking to
Yeah,
our
he's a
friend
junior.
John from the DRC, and he mentioned so if in that case, maybe he's the quarterback going down the line. Solid game for a playoff game for a guy that hasn't played quarterback all year. It's just odd to me to make that switch when Brock Temple had kind of played fairly well, and the offense had been playing better coming into this game. That's a bit
Yeah,
weird to me personally. I think that's a bizarre time to make a switch. It's like in baseball making a lineup change just to make a change, like just
yeah,
just to shake things up. So, but overall, Aubrey, I can't. This is one of those situations where I mean, just super hats off to them to
yeah,
start out the season as rough as they did, and then completely flip it. Won some huge games, and then even in this game, they were down 10-0 early,
yep.
got the lead, and then things just didn't go their way.
Yeah, it was
So
ten
wait, just a
nothing, and
battle
then
tested team.
yeah, 10-0, then 17-7, and then they scored twice more. So I mean, they had. I don't know what just ended in the third quarter. That might have just been a testament to Gilmer being able to
It
find a
might
way
be.
to stop them, and because it was scoreless, or not scoreless, but they were able to put together a touchdown drive and then put another one, or got the pick six uh, that salted the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a testament to a good season. I think because it was right there for the picking. I think the score kind of makes it a little bit more lopsided than it was, but it was really a one possession
Yeah.
game outside of that pick six, and so
Yeah.
it's a good season. I think though it's you're left with like meat on the bone, and when you're up 21-17 in the third quarter, run that damn ball, man. Like that's your bread and butter. I understand Gilmer
Yeah.
can fly and they hit hard and everything like that. And they got some stops, but just pound it down their throat. Use that wing tee
Mhm.
and just keep gashing them if you can. Um, Yeah, it's a disappointing finish to that. I was hoping that Aubrey would get back to the regional finals. They would probably have a big struggle against Carthage in the next round, who eked out a win over Pleasant Grove, two very good teams in East Texas. So that might have been the cap, but it ends a week early for them, and there's no December football over in Chaparral Drive. So yeah, just hats off for turning it around, but I'm pretty sure they're feeling like they let that one slip through their fingers.
Yeah.
Another team that probably felt like they let it slip through their fingers a lot last night was Prestonwood, who gave up 73 to number 1 St. Thomas, but did put up 62. This one was frustrating to watch because the broadcast had too many transitions of cameras, and like every time I turned around, there was another score. Like I would look at our game that we're watching, and then look over at the screen and see that there's another touchdown that they're recapping. I'm like, what the heck did I just miss? I mean, this is ridiculous, and that's basically what it was. St. Thomas, their running back, Johan Cardenas, the Vanderbilt commit, 7 touchdowns, 457 yards on the ground. Insane. I don't know how many times he broke off like a 30, 40-yard touchdown. Probably all 7. But like it was just over and over and over. I saw him breaking tackles and getting splash plays or splash plays here and there. It was ridiculous. And the teams combined for 63 in the fourth quarter. Just unreal 6-man football type numbers.
A 35-28 line or score. And that's just the fourth quarter. It's like
fourth quarter alone.
Like that's a full game, and they played that in the fourth. And at the end of the day, if you're Prestonwood, like I don't, I guess this is, it's gonna feel like you're rubbing salt in the wound. 3 turnovers. St. Thomas didn't have any. It's like that's
your difference maker right there.
In a game like that, like that's it. Like there's nothing. It's like you gave the other guy. If you don't give the other guys those 3 possessions, it's like that's it. I mean, that's all it was.
St. Thomas got on the board first. Ironically, their quarterback scored the touchdown. He had 2 of the 9 rushing touchdowns. Cardenas had the other 7. That's still a stupid number to hear. 7 rushing touchdowns in a game. But they scored. Prestonwood on their very first play, tip drill interception. Then I think took 2 plays to score again. It's 14-0 on the way to a 24-7 24-7 first quarter, and you're just chasing the entire game, and they just could not get stops, especially that fourth quarter. I mean, the Prestonwood offense was moving the ball. I swear, like every time I looked down, Kellen Tasby was chucking it up, and either Navar or Trout or Bingham, I believe is his last name. I might be slaughtering that. Somebody was coming down with the ball in the end zone and putting Prestonwood on the board, and it yo-yoed between 10 and 18 to 24 points, and just insane, just Tecmo Bowl dumb fourth quarter. Like this was just
Madden.
Yeah, it was Madden on rookie level in a practice setting, basically. Like it's just no semblance of defense in that second quarter for either team. But unfortunately, there was a little less semblance of defense for Prestonwood, and those turnovers definitely hurt when you said 3-0. You can't. I mean, that's going to be the kind of the theme of the playoffs, especially in this week's games, is that turnovers are sink you. In the next game we're going to talk about, it's the same thing, and that's with Abilene and Northwest. Turnovers immediately put them in a hole, and inability to move the ball on offense, and that's why Abilene is moving on to the regional final, and Northwest had an early exit. And this is a game, despite being 2.5-point favorites, we kind of felt like Northwest would be able to handle Abilene. Well, that's not the case at all. You can see the score, 27-16. It never really felt all that close, despite it getting to 20-14. I think midway through the third quarter or early in the fourth quarter, something like that. It was somewhere around there. I got to 20-14, but it really just maybe because of the broadcast situation with Wichita Falls ISD, it was a really bad broadcast. There was no voiceovers. It was just a PA announcer that you could lightly hear in the background. Never felt close. Never felt really like they were about to do anything. And sure enough, they weren't. And turnovers, right off the bat, you fumble the opening kickoff, they score. You punt, they score. You try going deep after you made it to 20-14, interception. They score after that. They scored off of another with a field goal. I mean, it was just 2 interceptions by Letty Thompson, both that amounted for 10 points. Now Northwest did get a safety. It was a planned safety by Abilene, and no, sorry, it wasn't an interception. It was a fumble the first time, and then an interception later, and then the second interception for Letty. So those 3 turnovers just absolutely sunk Northwest.
Yeah. I mean, not really a whole lot to add on there. It's like that early fumble and then the early scores given up. It's now you're having to ask Letty Thompson, who we talked about on the show. It's like he can make those big plays, but you do prefer to be running the football with
Ife,
Ife.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, now we got to rely on our quarterback who we know can make.
He threw a
big
rope
play.
to Kobe Wall.
Like
I mean,
he
an
can,
absolute
he
dot.
can make big plays, but it's kind of like Ryan Tannehill a little bit in a sense where it's like I don't want him throwing the foot. I don't think they want him throwing the ball
Yeah.
35 times, right? Like you would rather him throw the ball 15 times. He's comfortable doing that. It takes a skill to be able to do that, because all 15 throws need to be good. But
Yeah.
I don't want, and he can make the big throw in the fourth quarter. He's got the composure to do it. But now you need him to be able to have that composure from the 8-minute mark in the first quarter all the way to,
Yeah.
when the clock hits 0 in the fourth. And that's a lot for any high school kid. And that's why you see the guys that can do that, they're going on to play like at the FBS level and oftentimes, for Power 5 schools. Like it's a lot for any kid who's, 16 to 17 years old.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's, Letty is not Jake Strong, which we mentioned on the Wednesday show. And
Yeah,
that's kind of where I had mentally pigeonholed his ability to be at because, again, seeing him in spot duty last year, associating him with Northwest ISD and seeing how Tom Von Grote has stepped in and basically kept everything on track for Byron Nelson, I was assuming the same thing for Letty. Definitely not the case. It's kind of a rough year for him. Like I said, he threw an absolute dime to Kobe Wall to get Northwest, I think, on the board. I think that was no. I think maybe Letty. No, it was the second touchdown. Ife got the first one, I believe. I might have the back. I don't know. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It doesn't matter. He threw a rope to Kobe, 44 yards out. And I'm like, okay, that's the Letty I know that can throw the ball. And then the other 2 times, just lofted balls, really held up in the air and gets picked. Even after the safety, that first play after the safety, and they return the ball, he just kind of lofts another one, and it picks off, and then they kneel it out for the win. I thought that was a pretty bold choice. It was only 27-16, so if they score, put on 2, it's 27-24. You're really playing with fire at that point, but that little gamble paid off for Abilene, and they down a second 3-5A D1 team, and now they get to play the 3-5A D1 team in the next round in Aledo. So, shout out to Abilene. They're kind of shutting me up about the West Texas teams. Like I don't trust West Texas teams, just like I don't trust Lancaster. Sure enough, we have a West Texas team, even though you don't believe Abilene is West Texas.
No.
And Lancaster are all playing. So it was there to be had, just like Prestonwood. It was there to be had. Just you put yourself too much into a hole, and when your focal point has to go away because you're trying to dig out of that hole, it makes it tough sledding. They rode and died with Ife, and he wasn't allowed to have his big game. I mean, he did
Yep.
have 190 yards and a touchdown, but only 4.7 yards per carry, and that's not the numbers we had been accustomed to seeing this year from him throughout the season. So, it's just an unfortunate way to end the season.
Yeah, it's a bummer
for those three teams.
It's a bummer for those three teams, but also
yeah,
proud of the teams they play because like the War. I mean, you know what, the Warbirds, from all accounts, and then seeing some videos online of them. I mean, you know what, they earned that name, the Warbirds, because man, they bring it when they that defense is. They like
for sure.
and
and then we have
game is going to be physical.
Yeah, for sure. And then we have the final game before we get into talking about the game we saw, with being Panther Creek and Anna, and that one, just like the other three, it's all these games are close calls. Essentially, is basically what we're boiling it down to. There was moments where you could have taken a stranglehold, but Anna knocks off Panther Creek with a score with 10 seconds left to play. You were able to purchase the stream. I was not willing to spend $12 plus tax on a quarter of action.
No, it was $11. It was $11.99
plus tax.
No, so it was $12.30. I only paid $12.30
okay,
total.
So $12 plus tax, same difference, bud.
Okay, I'm just saying it wasn't $12 plus tax. It was $11.99.
Whatever. I'm smarter than that to know the difference. Anywho,
okay,
yeah,
it was a half.
Oh, you got to watch a half. Okay. Yeah, I didn't get to watch any of it. When I saw it was $11.99, I was like, no, because I tried to turn it on like right as the game had started, and I was like, nah, never mind. I'm not going to pay Frisco ISD $12 to watch this game. I will live vicariously through tweets. But you watched for half. I believe it was 14-14 at the half.
14-14 at half, and it was absolutely worth the $11 or $12 I paid.
Yeah.
Because, oh my goodness, to go from the Argyle-Colleyville Heritage game to that, awesome. I was driving home, had the broadcast on. I was not watching it. I was just doing the audio. Put my phone down, had the audio, just listening to it. Broadcasters going nuts. Everything's just back and forth. Get home. I'm eating dinner, watching this thing. I mean, these two defenses were just playing lights out that first half. I mean, it was a physical game, and then you're sitting there watching it. They're bringing the hammer every time they get a chance to hit somebody. But then the offenses, it was just perfect execution every time they scored. Like the offenses just kind of turned it up a notch. And we kind of knew the offense for both teams were like they're coming in. They're great. And Zeandre Williams, you and I talked about it before the game. I didn't know he was a sophomore going into it because he doesn't have sophomore numbers. I assumed he was like a junior or a senior, probably a senior. I mean, oh my goodness, the way he runs around, his arm talent, like the arm, like the power, like the ability he has to throw.
Yep.
He missed a touchdown at the end of the game that would have been done. They had this incredible play at the end. Obviously, it was a bummer. It was a heartbreaker, but he missed a guy. Comes right back for the last play of the game. Just gives his best receiver a chance to go up and win it. Great ball. Panther Creek defender, perfect position, gets a hand on it, looks like it's done, and it just kind of happens to come right down where the Anna receiver is. And and the best part about that game is there was no bad football the entire second half, really. Everyone played about as well as they could from an execution standpoint, even all the way up to that last play. It just, the ball got tipped, and if it goes one direction instead of the other, or like a few inches further or one way, like that ball is not caught, and it was caught in the end zone. It just kind of unbelievable. And then Panther Creek tried to run their hook and ladder at the end, and the ball was incomplete. So
yeah,
that's kind of the quick summary of it. If you weren't watching,
yeah, I mean, you talked about how both teams executed. It was 7 lead changes in the second half alone.
Unbelievable. It was insane.
14-14, and then 17-14, 21-17, 24 or 20. No,
24,
21-17, 24-7, 21. It was back and forth. Every time they had a possession, the team scored. What is the difference? The literal difference in the game is when Panther Creek got the fumble to start the second half on the kickoff, had to settle for a field goal.
Yep.
Those 4 points are the literal difference of the game, and instead of it being an overtime affair, where we're possibly talking about a 60-something, triple, quadruple overtime game. Panther Creek loses in the last 10 seconds because that missed opportunity, that meat left on the bone. It was there, and they hung with the number 2 team in the state after already had knocking off a number 2 team in the state earlier in the year. Right there. Again, the theme is just, it's right there. And when you would miss on those opportunities in playoff football, they're most likely going to come to bite you against more experienced teams, and that's what we saw. Alita, Abilene won their district, a little bit more experienced than the Northwest team. St. Thomas, a lot more experience than Prestonwood. They're number 1 ranked in the state. Gilmer, a beast of a team out of East Texas, who has to go up against Pleasant Grove this year in district. A beast of a team, like I said, just more experience and knocking off Aubrey. It's just the theme of just not taking advantage of the moments that are presented in front of you, and that's what we saw for all 4 of these games for our DINCO teams. And again, just it's unfortunate that's the way that.
Just real quick on that Panther Creek. So, like on that note with Panther Creek, it's and all love to Panther Creek. Part of this could easily be like, because Panther Creek, they looked fine in the red zone all game for the most part that I got to watch, from that point on. So it could have easily just been the Anna defense, because Anna's defense looked fantastic. Panther Creek defense looked really good. Offenses were just they were on another planet. In that second half. I think the Anna defense could have just made a fantastic play, because this is when I was just listening to the audio. But we talked about it before the show. That Panther Creek offense in that Salina game, we saw it a couple times in, I think it was the Auburn game or the Wilmer Hutchins game. They had a tendency in some of these bigger games to stall out in the red zone. I don't know if it just felt like maybe this was finally the game where it bit them. And they're so good at getting those big plays, breaking off big scores, and they're okay inside the 10, inside the 5. But inside the 25, for whatever, like between the 25 and the 10, there's something that goes on, and I don't know quite what it is that just reared its ugly head and finally got to the Panthers, and Anna was the team that did it.
Yeah, and I think another thing that kind of is that transitions to all teams that we cover, or at least all the teams that were playing last night, is that when the opposing team's offense kind of found some traction, it took a couple of drives for that defense to make an adjustment and stop them. It happened with Gilmer early, happened with St. Thomas very early and often. Abilene did it to Northwest, and then Anna. They weren't able to, once Anna was able to regain the lead or take the lead in the second quarter, and then again in the third, and then back and forth, Panther Creek couldn't bow its neck and find a way to get that one stop that it needed. And that would have turned the entire tide. And that kind of goes back to what you were saying with Panther Creek as a whole. The offense might have stalled out, but damn it, you need your defense to play its part too. You need that stop. And they were able to against Salina when it needed to. But just not enough to continue the season and everything like that. So just a bad break.
I mean, and you know what? They almost, and to be fair, they almost got it in that last play. Like, you almost got it with I forget which player it was. I think it was number 4 on that coverage. Perfect coverage. I mean, you couldn't. I don't know if you could draw it up much better. I mean, got a hand on it and everything.
Seth. Let me see. Go ahead.
It was perfect coverage. I mean, got your hand on it and everything, and I mean, just I was shocked.
William Bell.
Yeah, it was William Bell. Yeah, that sounds correct. And I just could not believe that the ball just ended up where it did. I mean, it was
Lucky bounces
so it.
sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and now at the end of the day, sometimes it takes some luck for a team to move on in a game like that. But uh, take the luck out of it if you're the Panthers, and that's something we talked about when it came to teams like Ponder and such, who controlling your own destiny. And that's what a lot of it is take control of your season, take control of things. Going back to like the Forney game a week ago, uh, it was shocking to see Forney knock over two to take control of that game and try to go up by 9 because
Yep.
they almost let Lone Star go to overtime with them.
Yep.
If so, as much as you can control your own season when it comes to high school. When it comes to any sport, it's control what you can.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to let John talk to you because I need to blow my nose. It is stuffed to all get out. And we'll talk about some big surprises, recap Friday night, and talk about the Saturday games.
Everything's bigger in Texas, especially Texas high school football. We're entering our 7th season with the Denko Gridiron platform. We started this 7 years ago right across the street at West Oak Coffee Bar. Just an idea to bring content directly wherever you are. Be a part of the community. Join us. Help our contributors to tell the stories each and every Friday night throughout the season. Talking your town, your team.
There's John again. We appreciate his contribution, man. Just really setting up this whole thing and covering up that coffee stain each and every week. All right, so biggest surprises from last night's, maybe in the games that we didn't attend or the games that we cover. I'll let you start off with yours.
In the games that we cover, it's first off, it's going to be Aubrey just not being able to getting a lead, not being able to sustain it. I thought going into it, if they got a lead, because I think they were up by 10 at one point. Is that, or were they only up by 3? I was for a little bit with you guys before the Argyle game kicked off. I thought they were up by 10 when I went down to the field.
Yeah, so I think it was 10-0 Gilmer, and then it was 10-7 and 17-7, and then they scored.
Okay,
twice. I have to look at the
I think they were up by 10, and it's like once Aubrey had like a 7-point lead, I was like, oh, like this is I mean, they're gonna milk that clock. Like it's like they're gonna hold on to the ball, have some 8-minute drives, and they're moving on. And it kind of shocks me that it ended up the way it did. Like I thought they were going to be able to like keep the game, like they were going to hit the under at that point. Once Aubrey got that lead, and it didn't. Everything kind of flipped, and Gilmer was able to turn that game kind of on its head, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
That was shocking to me.
Once Aubrey scored 2 times in a row, especially right before the half to go up and lead at the half, I was like, oh, this feels like Aubrey is going to choke this one out for sure. And I was surprised as you were.
Yeah, and then for me, the next part is Panther Creek's inability to score in really good field position, not just last night, but kind of all season. It's just weird to me for how good that offense was all year long, how good they were. They were incredible just all year and on pretty much every facet. And you kind of go back to it, it's really like from the 25 to the about like the 10 or 5. It's like there's like this weird chunk of the field. I think if you go about the 5-yard line inside the 5, really, really good. Like the 10 to the 20 or 10 to the 25, there's like a weird inefficiency kind of that went on.
Yeah.
And it, like we said, we already talked about it. It reared its ugly head yesterday.
That's
bizarre, just bizarre to me.
Yeah, it's a good thought exercise. I need to go back and look at all the touchdowns that they accumulated this year and kind of see what the percentage is of, plus maybe 25 or plus 20-yard touchdowns this year. And then look at the 5 to 20 range.
Yeah.
I think you might be onto something. We saw it against Wilmer Hutchins, which was a very physical team and very imposing team. They kind of had their way up front, but inside the 5, both times.
And I think Panther Creek, I think they're fine when it comes to a physical. I think the defense plays, they're very fast and they don't have a problem, they may struggle a little bit in the trenches with some teams that are physical, but like they make up for it with their speed. Like they're not afraid to hit. They kind of know they're undersized, and they know that and they kind of make up for it knowing they have to be ball hawks. And so
Yep.
that's and this is just one of those things where we talk about advanced analytics and not necessarily having those. This could just be a situation where they all year long were playing above their kind of like where they should have been, kind of a thing. And this kind of thing where it just bit them finally. So and I don't want to eat up kind of stay on Panther Creek too much because I know that's just it feels like I'm rubbing salt in the wound on a team that
But I
that
mean,
played
it
above
seems
your.
we cover, and
It's
it's like
weird.
you expect
It's like
you're hoping and wishing that they advance, and you're
it's
just
such a
let
bizarre
down. You're
thing
kind of
too, and
venting.
yeah, those red zone efficient. I mean, that's like a number I wish we had more, and is those red zone efficiency numbers. Because like, man, that's such a critical thing. You go back to like I go back to the Tennessee Titans 2 years ago, like when they were really good for a couple years in a row, gave the Chiefs problems. It was like, oh, they can't sustain these, red zone numbers that they do, especially inside the 10, where they scored almost every single time inside the goal line. However, you go through the whole season and they're doing it all year long. They do it again the next season. Ryan Tannehill is playing just insane, efficient football, and it's like, okay, so they can sustain it. Whereas I think we kind of just realized maybe the Panther Creek, they're an outlier in terms of their ability to make big plays, but something like they got to course correct something maybe in the in that short field, in the green zone or whatever it's called. I don't know what coaches call it something different, but that last thing for me is not it's not a team to cover, but it's Lancaster taking down number 2 Longview. They throttled Longview throttled Reedy. I mean, this Lancaster team, I don't know what's going on in Lancaster right now, but hats off to them. They had a game-winning field goal from almost, I think it was like 38 yards or something.
Yep.
And the dude looked like he could have made it from about 45. I mean, it was right down the middle.
Yeah. And a Lancaster team that erased a 14-0 deficit too, I think, at the half.
I didn't even know that part. That is,
yeah. So it was all second half mojo for Lancaster in that one.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible. Like
that's even more surprising to me is that they were able to erase the deficit and to take down Longview.
I don't know what's going on, but it feels like one of those. Hey, I would not gamble on any. If we were betting people, I'm not betting on a Lancaster game right now because it's like I don't care who they're playing. I don't care if they're 40-point underdogs.
Do you know who they play next?
Isn't it Aledo?
No, Forney.
Forney?
Division rival or district rival.
Lancaster just feels like they are on a magical run right now where they are playing great football and everything is they're doing everything right. Like it's one of those Cinderella runs, and I don't know, man. And I don't know. I wouldn't hate to see them take down Forney. I don't know. It'd be fun to see Lancaster make a deep run. Like I'm a fan of the program and fan of like the way they run things. They're one of those teams like we talked about it before when we talked about Lancaster. They always have exciting skill positions and exciting guys out there, and for whatever reason, they just don't get past those early rounds, and they finally did. And it's like we get to watch like Lancaster football, like these exciting guys, like later in the year. Like hell yeah, like I'm down.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, something about South Dallas area football is just fun to watch in the playoffs for sure. Anything else that surprised you this week?
I don't think so. Not off the top of my head.
All right, so I got 4 real quick. Obviously, the first one is that nobody won last night from our area. Again, we've talked about it. Just huge surprises that nobody won. Then Forney goes off for 61 against Richland after we saw them struggle last week against Lone Star. So that's going to be a fun matchup between Forney and Lancaster again this year. The other one is Emerson and Abilene is definitely not the regional final many, if any, expected to see. Maybe Argyle Emerson in this one, maybe Ryder Argyle in the final, but not Emerson Abilene. Sorry, what am I saying? Yeah, Emerson Abilene.
Emerson Abilene. Or wait, yeah, you said Emerson Abilene.
Oh, so sorry. No,
Oh
it's
yeah,
Heritage.
Emerson
Sorry.
Heritage.
Emerson Heritage is not the final we expected to see. That's my bad. I'm all over the map right now in my head. But yeah, I didn't definitely expect that one to play out the way that one did. And then the last one, just because of how prolific these offenses can be this year, Salina and Stephenville finished with just 10 total points, which was far and away the least amount of points scored. This is the game you would have absolutely hated to watch when they scored 10 total points. I think the closest next one was 28 points or something. No, 27. It was 14-13 with Huntsville beating Lamar Randall 14-13. So that's surprising to only score 10 points. That just caught my attention.
That's so weird to me between those two teams, and Stephenville and Salina.
Sure,
I don't know. It was like they're both physical teams, or like they're both like it's just, I don't know they're both good teams. Like I don't know, maybe the defenses
it was
were
just defense last night.
great,
apparently. So
fantastic defense.
Your favorite. You are the points degenerate. All right, so let's go back and let's recap the game that we were at last night. You were on the field, Heritage and Argyle. Heritage wins 38-34. We talked about it again. One of those meat on the bones type of thing. Slipped through their fingers late. I went down to the field as Argyle went up 34-24. Shortly thereafter, Luke Ulrich delivers a touchdown pass. Actually, it looked like he was throwing it right to me from where I was standing. I didn't have my phone out, and I should have. But it was right. It was a dart right at me. Make it 34-31. Argyle then goes 3-and-out and punts. And you asked after Heritage scored the first touchdown to trim it to 3. What did you ask me?
Oh, I was like, hey, you think they might kick an onside here? I was like, why not?
Yeah, you said onside or kick it deep. I was like, you kick it deep. You just hope that defense.
Man almost kicked it out of bounds. He got a lucky bounce.
Yeah. And Argyle then goes 3-and-out. Heritage in a few plays takes the lead with 41 seconds left. That Argyle can't do anything. But this one was what we were hoping to see, was a close game. I thought Argyle would kind of coast to the win at the end, and they were close to doing it. But that Luke Ulrich kid, the quarterback, who played with tremendous fire. There was a number of times where the quarterback for this team literally lowered the boom on Argyle DBs and just kind of like, you good?
I thought he got knocked out at one point, and then he just got up.
Same here. It was a smash mouth game for sure.
I mean, everyone was just getting hit. It's like 38-30. It's like, what is going on? Like, dudes were just It's like, hey, we might miss these tackles, but man, we're gonna come flying in. It's like in that, you know what? That kind of bit Argyle there sometimes where they came flying in.
Yeah, like
next thing you know, dude's going off for another 30 yards.
Yeah, I think it was Hayden Golden who broke off a touchdown. So one of the DBs kind of underplayed the pass, and he split those two DBs and then outraced another one for a touchdown. You know, that's a moment right there. Like if you at least make the tackle and you force them to do maybe 3 more plays, you can get a stop and get the ball back. But unfortunately, it did not go that way, and Argyle's season ends very short of what their ultimate goal was, which was at least getting back to state semifinals, getting to the state finals. I think we have both kind of pegged them to be around that state semis range, maybe state championship game. But no, hats off to Heritage for, we talk about teams bowing their neck whenever they need to on the defense. They sure did when it mattered the most after going down by 10.
Yeah, and so real quick, we'll take I just want to shout out our buddy Val Snow the third for coming back and kind of chatting with us, the day after Argyle plays. You've been with us a couple times here, so proud of Argyle for taking the early losses, coming back and playing on Thanksgiving the next few seasons. They're going to be exciting to watch, and I definitely agree with him there. This is when you have a team guy like is it Gisperson? Or am I missing a letter there?
McGuire Gasperson.
Okay, McGuire Gisperson. I think I was missing there a letter, and there's a lot of young talent on that team. I'm excited to kind of watch the Eagles here. And then, but one thing I think he did notice is, I think he notes is that the only criticism he had is that the next to last drive where they ran it up the middle 3 times and then punted, would have liked to see some, quick passes and such, try to make Colleyville make some plays. And I do think he's right. Bit of an odd decision to try to run the ball so much there towards the end where Argyle was throwing the ball pretty well, and Colleyville was kind of struggling to deal with the Argyle passing game a little bit, especially the quicker passes, those passes over the middle. Bit of a weird decision, bit of an odd play calling there. So, I do think there was some odd play calling from Argyle offensively. At the end of the day, it's going to be the Argyle defense. The thing we're used to seeing from Tyler Rogers' defense, is, they tackle, great team tackling and such.
Yeah.
End of the half. I don't know what happened. They just they gave up 3 plays, let Colleyville Heritage have a free field goal.
Well, and there was that one moment
where
Argyle mismanaged the clock in the first half. I think they missed time calling a timeout, or they could have allowed the clock to roll down and then scored late. But
I was trying to remember if there was something. I was trying to remember if we had.
Yeah, and then we talked about it in the press box. That's kind of bad clock management right there by Argyle, because it allowed Heritage to go down and score and keep the game close. When in fact they could have been up, I think, like 10 or something going into the break, as opposed to 7 or something like that, 7 or 4, something weird. But
there's
still,
been a lot of weird timeouts in the playoffs so far.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing. And this is my TED talk for Texas high school football. Get rid of double timeouts. Stop allowing coaches to call a timeout after a timeout. I think in college football, that's no longer allowed. If it is allowed, the NCAA needs to change that so college or high school football can change that. But oh my God, there's nothing more annoying than coming out of a timeout, being excited to call another timeout. Like you had your moment to make your adjustments in your game plan and stick with it, or call an audible, go from there. No more double timeouts.
Yeah, I remember it was. It was. I think it was it Argyle that did the double timeout? Like it was.
It was both teams. It was like all consecutive possessions.
It felt like I thought we had 4 timeouts at one point. Calling, and I was like, I understand if you call a timeout, you send your team out, you see something, and then the other team's like, we're going to redo something. I can wrap my head around that. But what was weird to me is the same team last night called a timeout, then called a timeout again. I was like,
no, I don't remember that happening. I'm talking about one team calling it, and then the next team calling it. Like,
I'm fine with. I'm fine with that.
Oh no, absolutely
I'm pretty sure I'm fine with that because it's like, hey, I think that's okay. I think there's a point where it gets ridiculous. But especially
last night it was ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I do agree it got ridiculous. It's just looks like it was like 4 timeouts. One of the teams last night, I don't remember if it was Heritage or Argyle, the same team called back-to-back timeouts. I was like, how did you not figure out what you wanted to run?
I don't remember that happening, but
I think it did. We'd have to double check with like John or somebody else that was in the booth, because maybe I'm wrong, but I thought the same team called a timeout.
I'm going to look at the play-by-play real quick of Argyle and Heritage, and I'm pretty sure there was no back-to-back timeouts by the same team. Play-by-play. But I'm pretty sure there was back-to-back timeouts.
Yeah, it was like 4 in a row.
All right.
I was just standing there.
Okay, so on Argyle's last drive, there was back-to-back timeouts with 13 seconds left. Argyle called it, then Heritage called it.
Mm-hmm.
Not on this one. There was a timeout called by Argyle before they punted. There was a timeout called by Heritage before they threw the touchdown to make it a 3-point game. Okay, I'm not seeing any others. Pretty sure that's all the second half timeouts that are available. None in the first half. I don't see any others. It's got to be the one. Okay, so there was back-to-backs. I'm pretty sure it was Argyle first and then Heritage. But in the 41 seconds left in the second quarter. But anyway, so yeah, there were 2 different times where it was back-to-back, and it was really frustrating. Just anywho, that's my PSA. I'll get off my soapbox. But yeah, back to the game. You know, it was a really intense game. It took some time for the teams to find their groove, but once they did, it felt like it was back and forth the entire game. You know, it's again just meat on the bone type of thing. Like, you know, I hear what Bal's saying, but that you had 3 guys, I think, average over 5 yards per carry for Argyle, and so running up the middle, you know, may have not been the best place, but running the ball 3 times to get 10 yards to kind of help salt the game away when you're up by 3 is probably not the worst idea. Maybe just, again, not up the middle. You had, let's go back to their stats real quick. I think Kreckler was averaging 6 yards a carry. No, 5 yards a carry. Lane Stewart had 6 yards a carry. McGuire Gasperson had 6 yards per carry. I mean, even Bagley, he ran the ball 8 times and scored twice. I mean, guys were producing. It's just not the right, maybe, like I said, play call to go with at that moment.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, a little bit of a weird play call, but it's just, I mean, 2 different drives, like the one at the end of the half. Defense just got like just 3 straight plays. Defense just was non-existent for Argyle.
Sure.
And then you had another drive towards the end of the fourth quarter. I mean, I think it might have been 2 drives where the defense just kind of allowed Heritage to score on like 4 plays. It's like, what happened? Like, you were playing fantastic.
But also shout out Heritage too. I mean, they had the game plan.
No, I'm not gonna, I don't want to. No, it's absolutely a shout out to Heritage because they were fantastic. I mean, the Luke Ulrich. I forget who it is. It was number 5, the receiver for them. Dude took a beating. He took some shots over the. I love Luke. I like Luke Ulrich. He was fun to watch. He did lead his man, whoever was number 5, into a couple hits, and dude got up, was ready to go, limped around the field a little bit. And, you know, those Argyle dudes, they hit hard.
Yeah.
But I mean, shout out to Heritage for getting through that game, and they won. And I thought Argyle was going to handle it. So Heritage shut me up.
Absolutely. All right. So we got a couple games on deck today. We're going to be heading to this one. Coppell and Nelson, 3 p.m. today.
I wanted to cue it. I was like, I knew you weren't ready for it, but I was like, I just wanted to throw it up.
I thought my stuff shut down. And then we've got All Saints and Liberty. We went over these on Wednesday. We had our predictions. Just go ahead again real quick so we can wrap up our show. We can head out to our relative area. First with Coppell and Nelson. Who you got? What are you expecting out of this one?
Look, I'm expecting great quarterback play. I'm expecting this game to be I'm expecting a shootout here between these 2 teams. Edward Griffin, been great all year long. Baron Tipton, a great wideout. He's tall, he's lanky for Coppell. I think they're going to go out there. They're going to give that Byron Nelson defense a little bit of trouble. However, we saw the Coppell Cowboys struggle with that Jesuit defense a little bit. And as we have noted here, Tucker James, over 1,200 yards rushing for Byron Nelson. That's kind of the thing that separates these 2 offenses. Is there's one of them a little bit more proficient in the running game, a little bit more electric, in my opinion, a little bit more fast-paced. And the biggest reason I think this game is going to be a bit of a shootout is Thomas Von Grote Edward Griffin, two of the best quarterbacks in the state, both of them more than 30 touchdowns on the season, not a lot of interceptions. They have a lot of weapons between the two of them. However, Byron Nelson defense is a little bit more stacked, in my opinion. So I'm going with Byron Nelson, and I think they're going to handle it. I'm going to go with a 2-possession game, but for the Bobcats.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of right there with you. I think the little blip that we saw against Jesuit is a lot of concern for Coppell going against Nelson. They have the weapons both in the running game and in the passing game, and the defense is stout. So yeah, for sure, could see Nelson roll into a double-digit 2-possession win there. The last one is All Saints versus Liberty. You're not going to be joining me. I think you were trying to find another game.
Yeah, I tried to find something near the Choctaw, because I was like, I want to go to another game because it's going to be a Saturday. I don't have much going on, and then it's like there was nothing near there. There was nothing near my house, and it's like I don't want to drive to Ford Center for a 7:00 game and then have to drive another 40 minutes to get home. I was like, oh,
I hear you, but yeah, so All Saints and Liberty. This one's
Liberty.
the right to go play Austin Regents, St. Regents, or Austin Regents, not St. Regents, but on next week in the state championship game in Waco. Liberty, we said feels inevitable this year. They're having to go against All Saints again, who knocked them out last year. Bow Snow, you are welcome. Y'all and John Fields have been great this season for Denton football teams. We'll see you in August. Go Byron Nelson and go Liberty Christian. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I think Liberty's going to roll in this one. They're 17.5-point favorites.
Yeah,
they're going to just, I think they're going to obliterate them and take a lot of their last revenge out on All Saints.
You want to hear a fun stat?
Yeah, hit me.
Cole Welliver, over 1,200 yards passing, 21 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions. That's like, oh, well, what? That doesn't sound exciting, right? Like it's only 1,200 yards. Like there's plenty of guys that have more yards than that, right?
Wait, what are you talking about? 1,200 yards. He's over like 3,000.
Well, that's what Dallas Morning News had in here. I was like, it's like,
no. He's well above. He's well above that. Go to our numbers. Go to our numbers.
Okay, I was like, I thought that was his like. Okay, all right. I thought it was.
I don't even have the playoff numbers. He was over 2,400 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions.
All right, yeah, he's at 3,000. I was like, wait a minute, because
it
sounded wrong when I was like, wait a minute. I was like, these numbers look wrong. It's like the last time I checked his numbers, they were a lot higher. It's like,
yeah. No. He's had a great bounce back season, and I think he's going to be.
You told me our numbers on the website weren't updated the last when we did the preview show, so I went to DM in today.
They failed you. All right, man. So let's get out of here. Parting shots for the day. We're gonna be rolling to Choctaw.
My parting shot.
What's your parting shot?
My parting shot is I just wanted to say Liberty is going to go win today, and they're going to win by a lot. Because All Saints, I don't think you should have done what you did last year, and I think you're going to regret. I think you're going to regret it today. I think you're going to regret it.
That's funny you say that.
You're going to regret playing in an indoor stadium because it's going to be a track meet for one team.
Well, that's funny you say that because there's this coach Furio who was complaining about. This is my parting shot. There's the coach last year complained after losing at state that they had to go from Refugio, which is outside of Corpus Christi, all the way to Arlington, and short week and blah blah blah. And he knew the schedule and everything. So my parting shot is Coach Herring for Refugio. If you really want to do your team a favor, you would stop winning playoff games and not have that short week at state if you continue to win. So there's my parting shot. All right, everybody. We're back on Wednesday. We might have a final recap show of our Denko season. We might have a game to preview or 2 games to preview. We don't know. Find out then. Of course, we're going to have all of our recap for again. Byron Nelson plays at 3. Liberty plays at 7. For Lee Livingston, I'm Stephen Peters. This has been the Denko Gridiron Show. We will talk to you later.